Okay guys, we're back this week. Do y'all have any questions about anything we've gone over? Any questions about the speaker that we had? Those of you that weren't here, were you able to watch the video?
No sir, I have not had the chance to watch it.
Excellent.
I was out of town. I just got back this morning.
When, like 10 minutes ago?
Actually, I got back at 10 o'clock this morning. Just got back.
For those of you that weren't here, it was Judge Montemayor that came and spoke. So watch that video. It was actually really good. He explained a lot about what goes on in CPS court, and also kind of what a judge expects of a court reporter. What he thinks and what he expected. But he thinks, kind of in general. What's that?
It was just like he set the bar pretty high. Like, you've got to be fast, you got to be accurate.
Oh, and if you ever go sit in his court, you'll see why. I mean, he's probably a 240 talker. Yeah. And you'll see most of the time he's pretty calm, when he kind of talks like this, but when he knows what he's going to say, he's a pretty intelligent man anyway. So he already has it down. I mean, he's not and then no, there ain't a whole lot of us. And if you see, he's pretty well spoken. So so he can get a little bit quick. And most judges, you'll find if you go sit in the courtrooms, when they come to things like they're going to stipulate somebody or they're going to plea something out or whatever, I mean, they already have this little jargon or thing that they already know. So I mean, they just kind of read it out, and it just it's like, so you just kind of hang on, but I do have briefs for a lot of the things that he says. So when you sit in there long enough or sit with a judge long enough, that you hear the same topic, you're going to get used to what they're saying, and you're going to figure it out real quick, when you have to write managing conservatorship and possessory conservatorship a lot, every day, multiple times a day, probably in every hearing you're going to hear it, so you come up with a brief pretty quick, so you're gonna hear different things. So real quick, and I'll kind of remind you guys at the end, but Wednesday we're planning to have another speaker. It's going to be Debbie Jimenez is supposed to come speak, and she's going to speak on criminal court. Okay, so if you can think of something related to the criminal court that we've already kind of talked about, good questions or whatever, it would be good to have them then. One was like the evidence, how long you have to keep the evidence sometimes. When you have big evidence like guns, drugs, stuff like that, and it goes up on appeal, how they submit that to the fourth court, how long you keep your records, stuff like that. So it should be pretty good, and I'm hoping that she can make it on Wednesday. I was supposed to have her come speak one other time, and something kind of came up, so I'm hoping that she really gets to come on Wednesday, and then nothing comes up, but she is supposed to be here on Wednesday. Okay?
Great.
Any questions? No? Okay, we're on chapter 33, finding employment. Okay, so we're going to discuss what is meant by the term job search, various elements that go into making a good resume, various elements that go into making a good letter or application, and the important factors that should be considered by the interviewee at a job interview for a court reporting position. All right. So the job search, whenever one seeks employment, whether for the first time or when moving from one position to another, it is important to conduct a job search. A job search can be defined as the active solicitation of possible employment, limited to a specific geographical location, and using the skills and qualifications of the searcher to the fullest possible extent. So when you get out of school, you're kind of going to know what you want to do, okay? And most of the time, I'd say probably 95, maybe 97% of the time, you're going to go work for a firm first, okay? I really only know of maybe 2 instances that I know of where the court reporter got out of school and got a job down at the courthouse. Yeah. So it doesn't happen extremely often, but I mean, if that's a direction that you want to go, I'd start sitting in now. You know, go and really sit in with some court reporters and really get to see what it's all about, what it takes, what they expect, maybe sit in on trials, you know, because just doing the docket every day is not going to cut it. You really need to sit in on like doing voir dire, you know, and stuff like that, because it really gets entailed. And when, you know, it's like, I want a job down at the courthouse. Okay. Well, set up today because we're going to have a jury panel come in and we're going to select a jury for jury trial. Yeah. And you're going to have that deer in the headlight look, and you know, it's only going to come down on you. Okay? So, I mean, you don't want to be caught in that position where it's like, what? This jury trial you speak of, what? Yeah. So, and it's not super hard, but I mean, if you get to go and sit in on one, do it. You know, just to see what it's about, and it's pretty entailed. Okay, so I mean, if you're lucky enough to get into a court like I was in, I don't know that it's really luck, because every court kind of has its pros and cons. You know, one of the cons was, I mean, you have to listen to the topic that we dealt with every day, you know. So if you're, you know, if you have kids, you know, or if you're just that soft-hearted, be careful, you know. But you have to remember, it's just a job, okay? I mean, it's not, don't get personal with it, whatever, it's just a job. But you know, after so long, you know, it still takes a toll on you when you listen to that stuff every day.
Is sitting in court, is it required, or is it just something that you guys?
It actually is required.
Okay. Is it a certain amount of hours that we have to do it?
You're supposed to. You're supposed to. Now, some people don't. You know, they'll go sit in. I don't even know what's required of you guys. Is it 40 hours? Something like that?
I don't know.
I'm gonna try to check. Only reason why I asked is so I can work around my job when I get closer to that that point of graduating.
Yeah. You know, and that's why I was telling you guys that, you know, when we have these little breaks, and you know, depending on your job or whatever, I'd make time to go down there and really sit in with some of these guys, you know, and I was hoping that more of you would have taken advantage of going and sitting in with Kristen. You know, it was a great opportunity to go and sit in on federal stuff, you know, which is not something you really get to do very often. I think you could, but people don't take advantage of it. Now, and you know, when she calls me or texts me and says, hey, you know, this would be a good week or whatever, I'll let you guys know. And if you can make it, you know, try to really make a point.
The 2 people that you know of who went straight to court out of school, was it because they were just so good, or was it just a coincidence that it happened?
One of them, she was really good. I mean, she got out of school like in 18 months. You know, 18 months or right at 2 years, something like that. It was super quick, you know, and for our standards, which, you know, the court reporting school that I went to was, I mean, considered one of the best in the state at the time. So, I mean, she was just kind of I wouldn't say she was necessarily a natural at it, but she was kind of the same situation as Sarah. She didn't have a job. She lived at home, so she just practiced all the time. All the time. She was just practicing or whatever. She wasn't married, didn't have any kids, so she just practiced all the time, you know. And the other girl, who is a friend of mine, kind of coincidentally, but we had both applied for the same job. I had been out of school like 2 years, I think, and she had just gotten out of school, and she ended up getting the job right out of school. So when we turn that off, I'll tell you. No, I mean, it was just kind of a situation where it might have been influential because of someone she knew. But hey, I mean, it was the judge's decision, and you know, she said, you know, I really want to go with someone who I think that I can mold. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And, you know, it was what it was. I mean, she and I are still friends. You know, I was upset that I didn't get the job, but I wasn't bitter, you know. It was just like, you know, hey, congratulations. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's not personal, it's a job, you know. I was upset, but, you know, things work out the way that they're supposed to, trust me, you know. So, anyway, so when you get out, you're going to kind of know, and that's why I tell you get involved with the association here, because when you go out, you don't want to be, hello, my name is David, and I've never met you before because I've never come to any of the meetings ever, and I've never met any of the court reporters ever, but, you know, hey, just pass the test and I'd like a job. And it comes down between you and her, and she's been at every meeting. You know, you have the same qualifications now. You pass the test, both ready to go. So unless you just knock her socks off at the interview, she may get the job because she was there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not saying completely that way, but, you know, it helps to network. It always helps to network. You know, and like I was telling you guys, and like, who else was telling you guys? Sarah? About there being a lot of job openings and stuff. And I mean, if you're willing to go down to the Valley and you're willing to go to El Paso and Houston and, you know, maybe even Dallas, I mean, you know, I don't think that you should necessarily keep it to here, but I mean, you know, everybody, the last, shoot, I don't know that any of the people getting out of school have had trouble finding jobs. None of them. You know, and I'll tell you about one, and it was a student from here. She never did anything. She never went to, I don't think, any of the meetings. She never went to blah, 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 or nothing. You know, and she just got out, and yeah, we'll hire you. Come on. You know, so I think there's opportunities like that too, but I'm telling you, you know, the more you get out, you're going to know, you know, when you get to know people, it's like, I don't know that she's someone that I'd want to work for or whatever. Or, you know what, this is someone that I really want to work for. She's very professional. She, you know, really takes care of her reporters, it sounds like, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So you'll kind of know, okay? Okay, the following are guidelines to help you conduct a job search. You should attempt to answer this question: where do I want to work? And that's going to be the first and foremost. You know, I mean, you know, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to put my feelers out everywhere, and you know, whoever calls or whatever. I mean, like I was telling you guys, well, actually, like Sarah was telling you guys, that they had actually hired someone and paid, no, it wasn't Sarah, it was a buddy of mine from another firm, told me that they were hurting for reporters so bad that they paid a reporter, they paid the reporter's moving expenses to come down here from Houston. Really? Wow, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you know, to move all the way from Houston, you got to move all your stuff, you know, find a place, whatever. And I don't think they paid for a place, but I mean, they paid for all of our moving expenses. Like, you know, if you're willing to come on. You know, we can keep you busy. And supposedly they do. So if somebody is willing to say, you know what, we're willing to pay, even if they're not willing to pay your moving expenses, but say, you know what, we need you right now in Houston. And, you know, we can keep you busy, and if you can start, you know, we'll help you. But, you know, if we can start really cranking out pages, you know, we can guarantee you blah, blah, blah. You know, 65, 70,000. You know, I mean, so, you know, it all depends on what you're able to do. You know, and I know that most of you, I guess, are married, all of you or whatever. So, I mean, you know, a lot of it hinges on that too. Your family, you know, children, you know, if they're in school, or if you're just willing to travel. You know, and I was talking to another court reporter who said that they had a court reporter that came and worked for the firm, and she said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do any really far out of town and overnights. You know, it's a job, you know. I mean, If they send you and they say, you know what, we need you to go to Louisiana, you know, for 3 days because they're going to take 3-day depots, and the attorney's from here, and he wants that court reporter and blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay. Well, when your client drops you and uses somebody else in the firm because they're willing to travel, and it's like, well, you know, we're taking depots here, and you know, kind of use me. Well, yeah, I kind of got to know this other girl, and you know, I want her to take all my depots because she's willing to travel if we need to travel. So you kind of have to be a little bit flexible with stuff, you know, whatever. But you know, but if you're willing to move, if you're willing to do stuff, if you're willing to travel, you know, the sky, it seems like it's still the limit out there. I mean, it's still pretty good. So. Once a geographical location to where you want to work has been defined, ask, do I want to work as a freelancer or as an official reporter? Like I said, 95–97% of the time you're going to go work for a firm. I think you really need to get your feet wet, you know, whatever. But I mean, if an opportunity comes up, you know, and they say, you know, hey, look, we need somebody at juvenile, you know, and you'd be working with the associate judge, and you know, blah blah blah. You won't have to take any jury trials or whatever. Yeah, wow. I mean, that'd be, you know, if you guys know what we make, it'd be really hard to turn down. You know, I mean, so if something like that comes up, I mean, like I've told you guys, you can always text me, call me, email me, you know, whatever. Hey Dave, what do you think about this? I mean, it's in a probate court, or it's in a county court, or you know, I got offered a job down at juvenile working with an associate judge, and you know, or I got offered a job and it's working in a criminal district court. You know, what do you think? No, because one, you're gonna be doing jury trials, and two, you're gonna be doing big time stuff. Murders, capital murders, any of that stuff. Serious assaults, felony assaults, you know, so anything like on a capital murder, stuff like that, it automatically goes up on appeal. So you're talking about, you know, a lot of times they'll bring in like 100 jurors, you know, like on a capital murder. And jury selection could last days, weeks, or even months. I've heard of months, you know, where they're doing individual voir dire with every juror, you know, and I mean, they're asking you all kinds of questions because these are the 12 people that are going to decide the fate of this cat who may not have even done it. Maybe he did. I don't know. They're still going to take their time on selecting a jury, whereas opposed to, you know, like a probate court or a county court, and they're just like, just pick the first 6, let's go, you know. They're not as worried about it because the amounts of money and whatever. It's just like, you know what, we'll just get 6 people, and it's not necessarily that simple, but it's not. You're only getting 6 people in a county court. Okay, so you know, if you ever have any questions, I mean, you're more than welcome to, you know, always call me or ask me or whatever. So. Once you have determined where you want to work and the type of work you want to do, the next important step is to compile a list of places where you can work. For example, if you have determined that you want to work for a large freelance agency, then you need to devote your energies to finding the names of the freelance agencies located in that city. So if you know where you want to, you know, move to, you know, it's like, you know what, my husband's getting transferred and he's going to Houston, or he's going to Dallas. You know, I need to start looking, and you can go on to, I think it's TCRA. I don't know if it's TCRA website or the TCRA magazine, but it has like all the job listings that are like open. Yeah. Or I mean, just call somebody, call me, or call, you know, another reporter or your mentor or whatever, and say, hey, look, I just passed the test. Well, they're going to know that. And, you know, my husband or wife is getting transferred to Dallas. You know of anything in Dallas? And they kind of do the same thing. I mean, we have like a person here, you know, that most people kind of keep in touch with, and they're like, you know, hey, what's going on in San Antonio or whatever? Is there any job listings, or, you know, what about schools or anything? I mean, they're always calling. So I mean, there's always, you know, people that transfer with stuff, so, or are looking for, you know, hey, what, you know, if a job opening comes up at the courthouse, let me know. And that was actually kind of what happened, you know, when I left. There was a, you know, the girl that called me said, hey, I know somebody in Houston that's looking for a position here. And she came and interviewed with my judge. So, I mean, she didn't get the position, but I mean, still, I mean, she came down here and at least got to talk to him or whatever, and he's like, you know, cool. So, I mean, you know, there's always, you know, factors or whatever. So, after listing several possible places of employment within a given location, the next step is to evaluate these places. Your evaluation should consider the following. Do they have openings? Duh. Do they offer full-time or part-time employment? Are reporters considered employees or independent contractors? That's going to be super important, guys, on that employee thing, okay? Because that's going to involve your taxes, okay? And if you can avoid that, trust me, you kind of want to, okay? And you all, what are the benefits they have? How much work can they guarantee? Will you be able to make a living working for this agency? Yeah. How many other reporters are in the firm or agency? What type of boss will you be working for? Will you be required to buy expensive computer equipment and software? And are there any other personal considerations that you feel necessary in making your decision? So there's a lot of factors that go into it. You know, and you'll kind of know if it's kind of a fit for you just by sitting down and talking to the, you know, employer or whatever. If it's just like, you know, look, we're super busy, we're just going to get you in there and you're on your own. You've never taken a job before? Yeah, you know, that's going to be kind of tough too. I get, you know, with somebody, and I was really fortunate, you know, when I got out, I had like 5 job offers, you know, when I got out, 3 here in town, 1 in Houston and 1, you know, down in Brownsville, you know, whatever. So I was real involved with the association here, so I kind of knew a lot of people coming out. I had already kind of worked for 2 firms, but the lady that I went and worked for was somebody that I knew, but the 2 other female friends of mine that had gotten out already had already gone to work for this firm, and they're like, Dave, this is good, it's primo, you know, whatever. So went and interviewed with her, and she's just like, absolutely. And I was the only guy. Imagine that. I mean, in the whole office. I mean, office staff, everything. So, yeah, it was kind of, you know, kind of a unique situation, but it was good. I mean, she was really cool with me. She really helped me out a lot, you know, and being that we were just on the cusp of like computer age technology, it was tough, you know, because I had never really worked with computers very much. I mean, and this was 25 years ago? 25 years ago. So, I mean, you know, she was willing, she's like, you know what, we're going to get you a job, we'll take a job, and then we're going to do it, and you know, you try to do it with the software. But I mean, she told me, she's like, look, this is what software we're on, so this is what I'm going to be able to help you with. You know, if you get on another software, I mean, you call support or whatever, and they're going to help you. So, you know, that kind of goes into the factor of deciding a place where you want to work too. You know, it's kind of, well, we require you to be on Case Catalyst. You know, well, I learned Eclipse in school, and it's easy, I like it, it has some quirks to it, but, you know, I like it, whatever, and I think I'm going to stick with Eclipse. Well, then you're not going to be able to work here. I don't know if they necessarily tell you that, but, you know, I think that you would kind of want somebody that's in the firm that kind of knows kind of what you're doing, what you're on. So if you have problems, or if you don't, I mean, you can always call me and say, hey, Dave, I'm cranking out this job, and I still have students that do that. Hey, Dave, I'm cranking out this job, and you know, this thing is messed up, and you know, well, let's try to figure it out. So we'll try some things, and you know, most of the time I can kind of help them figure it out. But I mean, sometimes just like, you know what, you're gonna have to call support on this one. I mean, this is a little bit over my head. You know, so it still happens or whatever, but you can still crank out a job. And when I was doing it, you know, what I would do is take the job, edit the job, proof the job, and then give it to her, and then she would proof it again, just to make sure that everything was okay, my setup was okay, speaker identifications were all right, colloquy was good, you know, you didn't put multiple Q's where there was supposed to be Q&A, blah, 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 you know, little stuff like that. Well, back in the day, they didn't really have that, you know. The spell checks now, you kind of check all of that. So, I mean, when you go through spell check, it'll check the whole thing. So it'll tell you if you have multiple Q's. If you haven't taken Eclipse already, then you'll know what I'm talking about once you take the class. But yeah, it checks everything, so it's really good.
Does the county require certain software?
No, they don't. They just require that you do real time now. So in order to get hired, some of the judges don't. You know, like even my judge that I worked for before, Judge Montemayor, he didn't really like it. He thought it was a little bit confusing because of, you know, you're always looking at the screen or whatever, and he's more pay attention right here. You know, and he's always listening. So he may be working on the computer because like he'll hear something, you know, like I was telling you guys the other day, and it said, yeah, and she was on this drug, you know, and I don't remember. I think I used the term brass monkey or something. And it wasn't that, but it was something like real off the wall, you know, and yeah, and she was on brass monkey, and he's like, whoa, what? What is that? Oh, well, it's this drug that's laced with blah, 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 and what? So, I mean, there he goes, and he's on the computer looking it up. And he knows exactly what, you know, or if he hears a term or something that he doesn't know, or a place, you know, where they've been. You know, some of these kids have been to RTCs, which is a residential treatment center or whatever, then, you know, well, she didn't do well here. I've never heard of that place. He's looking it up, but he's still listening. You know, and it's like, well, I object, Judge. What was the question again? And they'll ask, and it's like they changed it up a little. He goes, no, the question was blah, 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 wasn't it? Oh, yeah, well, I mean, you know, he's, okay. So he's always listening. You think that he's not, but he was always listening. So, you know, and he didn't really like real time. The judge that I work for now doesn't really like real time, you know, because of the stuff that we do. We're just kind of doing pleas and stuff like that. So we don't really do anything that really requires real time. So, but the county now, if you get hired with them, so if you're lucky enough and one of the positions comes open and it's the swing reporter, they require it. Because some of the judges are like, you know what, if my reporter's out, which my reporter does real time, I want somebody coming in doing real time. So some of them do. So, so it kind of happens. All right. Now that you have actively searched out the best possible places of employment, you can send a resume and a letter of application with the goal of obtaining an interview. Most of you guys have done a resume, right? Everybody's done a resume. And you know, I mean, if you've ever done a resume, the most important thing is keeping it short and concise, okay? One page, it should usually always be one page, and that's what I've always been taught, you know, even in high school when, I think they taught it like in typing class or whatever, for some reason, I don't know. But I mean, it's always, you know, keep it to one page and keep it brief, but to the point. A resume is a summary of one's experience, education, and qualifications for a particular job. Resumes may be prepared in a variety of fonts and styles, especially with access to desktop publishing tools and word processing software. Some software programs will do an excellent job in helping you develop your own resume. Many resume services or employment referral agencies can create and produce a first-class resume. 1, print your resume on a good quality bond paper, at least 20-pound weight. I was real particular about mine, regardless of which job I did, and I always went to like Kinko's and have them, you know, do it on the really nice paper and, you know, whatever. So, and it just looks nicer, you know, and it's not, you're not doing it on, you know, construction paper or something ridiculous like that, okay? So, I mean, really, you know, kind of go, and it's not that expensive or whatever. So I mean, it's just kind of important just to, you know, if they see that you took the time and effort to do something like this, kept it clean, kept it orderly, and put it on nice paper, they're going to say, you know what? I mean, if he or she takes this kind of time to put their resume together, then I think this is somebody that I want. And it could be something as simple as that, you know? So, 2, use a laser, inkjet, or bubble jet printer that produces only the best quality print. Or use that dot matrix. I mean, what, really? Bubble jet printer. The resume should be proofread at least 3 separate times by 3 separate people. I really would, guys. I mean, I don't know that it needs to be 3. I'd go through it myself, and then I'd have somebody else look at it and say, hey, you know, what do you think? 2 sets of eyes are always better than 1 set of eyes, not 2 eyes are better than 1 eye or 3 eye thing, whatever. So, you know, and just always have somebody. I just think that it's always better. I mean, a lot of times, like even just on doing your work, you know, it's sometimes better to always have, I mean, because you've already seen it, you took it, you edited it, you printed it, you proofread it, so this is the 3rd time you're really going through it, and it's just like, you know, it's just like, you're just reading through it now, and you know, you can miss some things. It's human error, it happens, I mean, you know, but, you know, if you can get somebody to proofread your stuff, especially in the beginning, it's always good. I mean, because I didn't really realize how much stuff I was missing in the beginning, and I was really glad that she helped me through that, because it really taught me, you know, 1, the setup, but 2, really take time to proofread your stuff. I mean, because your name is the one going out on it. So if you hand in a resume to someone and it's like, really? Misspellings all over the place. You started with a capital letter and ended with a period, and this thing went on for like 6 or 8 sentences, I mean 6 or 8 lines or whatever, and you just, you know, it's one big run-on sentence or whatever, you know. So just kind of be aware, okay? The top of the resume should contain important information about who you are and where you can be located. Heading used within the resume should include, at the very least, your education and training, experience and past employment, speed test passed and certifications earned, organizations and associations that you've been with, or references that state that they are available upon request. So it's always good to say, you know what, I've always been part of BCCRA, I've always been part of TCRA, you know, I've gone, I went to SAC, you know, I worked for a court reporting firm, or I did some scoping for a court reporter, or, you know, any of a number of things. I mean, you know, just even as simple as being involved with the association. Yeah, I was involved with the association, and, you know, went to meetings once a month and blah, blah, blah. Looks good on a resume. Headings within, okay. All items listed in the resume, including your education and experience, should be listed in chronological order with the most recent first. In other words, if you are currently working, list your place of employment followed by your other past job experiences. And that's important, I mean, because you don't want to say, well, and they, you know, people really look at this. I mean, regardless of what it is, I mean, you're going into court reporting, but it's like, currently working at Burger King, worked at McDonald's before that, a month before that, worked at Wendy's 2 months prior to that, worked at Chili's 3 months prior to that, worked at, really? You've had 9 jobs in the last year and a half? Maybe you bettered yourself every time, maybe. You left because of better stuff, but, you know, it just doesn't look as good. You know, but you still want to be truthful. You know, so, I mean, maybe you had some stuff that just happened. You know what? You know, we're not going to need you anymore. We got to cut back on your hours. Well, I had to leave because they cut back on my hours. And then this one, you know, I was having trouble with transportation back then. I didn't have a whole lot of money, so I was working at this place, and I just, you know, they just weren't working with my hours and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, there's certain situations that come up, so you always want to be honest about it still. You know, so if you had 9 jobs in the last year and a half, I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, you still want to be honest, but, you know, work history and longevity always looks good on a resume. So you always want to be able to, you know, say, well, I've been at my current job for 8 or 9 years. Well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. It really doesn't matter. I'm just telling you that longevity looks good. References should be either included on the resume or, if available upon request, a separate list of references that includes your professional titles, addresses, and phone numbers should be prepared. Always have good references too, guys. You know, when you can, you know, and it's somebody that's, you know, gonna paint you a good picture too, not, you know, she was always kind of late, and dressed a little sloppy, and, you know, just kind of had this I don't care attitude, but super duper sweet girl, super duper, you know, just kind of be careful. I mean, but you want people with credibility also, you know, and that's, you know, that's what they're looking for. You know what, truthfulness, one, but, you know, two, that they have credibility too. The resume should be printed on 8.5 by 11-inch paper and preferably by 1 page in length. Yes, the resume should never include information that is false or stretches the truth. Only actual information should be used. So I don't know that you want to go on there and say, well, you know, I was the past president of TCRA. Really? As a student? You know, so I mean, you just try to, you try to keep it, you know, as truthful as possible and just highlight your best points, but with truthfulness, okay? The letter of application should be completed with one thought in mind: gaining an interview. Once your foot is in the door with an interview, you have an opportunity to show the prospective employer why he or she should hire you. A letter of application is shown on 33.2. That's on the next page. All right. So like the resume, the letter of application should be neat and attractive, as well as concise and to the point. Always address the letter to a specific individual within a firm or agency. If you do not know the name and address of the letter, to find out by doing some research. So, I mean, you never really want to go in with "to whom it concerns" or something like that. You know, always try to find out somebody who is, you know, just go down there and say, hey, you know, I'm interviewing for a position or whatever. Who's the firm owner? Who do I need to address my letter to or whatever? And they'll tell you. I mean, you know, it's Miss Janice Walters or, you know, Ed Garza. Oh, okay. And it's something as easy as that, rather than, you know, to whom it may concern. Double check the spelling of the person's name and the address of the firm. You know, you don't want to go to, you know, you're going and putting in a job application with Hoffman Reporting, and you put, well, Miss Janice Walters, who owns Walters Court Reporting Firm, you know, whatever, and you're trying to address it to Kathy Hoffman, you know, and you got the name wrong, and, you know, so just be careful with that. And I think she spells her name with I think it's with a K, I think. So, I mean, just little things like that too, you know, whether it's a C or K on Kathy, or, you know, just any of a number of things, but make sure that you have the right spelling of the name, the right person that you're sending it to. Use the same quality paper used in the resume, preferably the same type of paper. Avoid common phrases and cliches in writing the letter, and avoid the use of the common pronoun I. The first paragraph should identify the particular job that you are seeking. So it's not just, hey, you know, I'm looking for a job. Yeah, come on in. We have a delivery job. You'd be doing deliveries to certain law firms. No. Court reporter. Oh, well, you didn't specify. You know, so the first paragraph should identify the particular job. The second paragraph should provide your qualifications for the job without restating everything that is on the resume.
Third paragraph should explicitly state your intentions, that is, why you are writing the letter. For example, it should state why you are applying for the job of the freelance reporter. The last paragraph should bring the matter to closure, but open the door for an interview. References should be made to the resume and your availability by telephone or letter, and always have your letter proofread 3 times by 3 different individuals. So, you know, that's a perfect example right there. The letter, you know, kind of states, you know, your intentions, the position you're going for, references upon, if needed. So take a look at that. Okay, the job interview. The ultimate goal of the letter and the resume is to secure a job interview during which you will have an opportunity to meet your possible employer. Although some people look at the interviewing process as a terrifying experience, it is actually a wonderful opportunity for you to present yourself and demonstrate what you know. 1, make sure that your appearance is commensurate with the employment that you are seeking. So yeah, I mean, you don't want to go in there with shorts, flip-flops, you know, a tank top and maybe a headband or whatever, you know, to a job interview for a court reporter. You can. And when they tell you no, maybe you'll consider it on the next position that you get an interview with or whatever. So, you know, always be very professional, early, always be early, well-groomed, stuff like that. I mean, you know, first impressions are always big, you know, with people. And if you're, you know, look like you just woke up, late, dressed crazy, and don't have your thing, well, my resume is, you know, really? You know, and people, it's like, you know, so they're sitting there waiting on things. You know, show up early, have your stuff in line, know what you're going to present. You probably already sent it or whatever, but have another copy with you, have it in a binder that's really nice or whatever. Oh, you know, I have everything right here. What would you like to look at? The resume, my references. I have a sheet of my references right here, blah, 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 whatever, okay? So it's just like showing up to, you know, like a depot. I told you, always show up early. The best thing about showing up early is that you're there, you have time to get your stuff in line, and always think in your head, well, if she asked me this or he asked me this, you know, what am I gonna say? You know, not, what are some of your references? Who are some of your references? I have this sheet. Really? Yeah, here's some of my references right here. It's blah, 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 and he's a court reporter, blah, 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 she's a court reporter. You know, my last employer or my current employer, you know, while I'm looking for a job or whatever. So, you know, I've always been able to use them as a reference, and then, you know, okay. So always try to have things in order, okay? Always look like you're in charge. You know what, I've got all my stuff in line, I'm ready to go. Always look confident, even if you're, you know, heart's beating through your chest, it's okay. You know, always just take your time, everything's gonna be okay, you know. Behave appropriately. Okay, go to the interview alone, okay? Did you ever watch Mr. Mom? Where he goes to that interview thing and he has all of his kids. Holy cow, funny movie. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that, you know. If, you know, and I understand, you know, certain things come up or whatever, but, you know, you can always find somebody that can watch your kids for an hour or two or whatever while you go to this interview. You know, and don't go down there with, you know, your grandmother from, you know, down in the valley and your parents, and, you know, my sister wanted to come too, and her boyfriend was with us, and, you know, we all came in the van. No, you know, I mean, just go down there alone, have confidence, everything's gonna be okay. Behave appropriately. Do not chew gum, smoke, swear, use slang words, tell off, you know, color jokes, or, you know, act rude. You know, you don't want to go in there
one, telling jokes. You don't want to, you know, I don't know, that going in there with like, you know, like a mohawk or, you know, you've got all these piercings on your face or eyebrow or, you know, any of the, you know, keep it professional, guys. Keep it professional, because in hiring you, you are going to represent them. So, you know, they're not going to send you to an interview with one of their big clients, you know, when you have this whole colony of earrings, your hair is 9 different colors, and, you know, just as a guy, your shirt is open and you have a big old medallion and, you know, just crazy stuff, you know. I mean, dress conservative, be professional, okay? Answer all questions honestly, be brief in your answers, but make sure that you answer all questions completely. Guys, you know, and if you ever go sit in court and you really pay attention, and it used to burn me up the most, is when, you know, an attorney calls a witness and it says, look, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Just answer the question that I'm asking you. If you need to elaborate or whatever, your attorney will go into other questions. Kind of the same thing. You know, they don't need to know that you were in a biker gang and then blah, 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 and this is how I got started, and then this happened, and, you know, I was struck by lightning, and all he asked for was, do you have any of your references? Who are some of your references? And you go into this long old thing about nothing, you know? Oh yes, I do have my references. I have them available. I have them on a sheet if you would like to look at them, or I can tell you about them. Which one would you like? Something just that simple, you know? So keep it simple, keep it to the point, keep it honest, okay? When asked about past or current employment, be honest. Do not put other people down. Avoid a negative attitude and do not complain. You know, so it kind of goes back to that 9 job in a year and a half type thing, you know. And if it was stuff with you, then it was stuff with you. I mean, just be honest. Just say, look, I mean, at the time I was going through some hardships, and, you know, I didn't have transportation, so I would get to work, you know, 5 minutes later, whatever, and the guy was just, he wasn't understanding like that. I mean, and I understand, but I mean, you know, the bus that I had to catch, I caught it, you know, and it took me 2 hours to get to work, even, you know, still. And just be honest. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But if they find out, you know what, well, that guy was just a, you know, he was an A, and, you know, he was just blah, 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 and he was a jerk, and, you know, he didn't understand anything, and, you know, I think he was racial, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, they don't need to know all of that. All they need to know is why, you know, it didn't work out. You know what, it just didn't work out. There was a conflict, you know, and for whatever reason, you know, but always keep it honest, always keep it brief and to the point, okay? When asked about a starting salary, be honest. Let them know what you require in order to live, you know? I don't know that you want to go in there and say, you know what, I want to make what the CEO's making. Really?
Who don't?
Get in line. You know what, we all do, you know, but I mean, just tell them. Say, look, I mean, and what I always used to tell them was, you know, I want as much as I can make. You know, I know that, you know, this is what it pays. What, you know, I didn't really have a choice at the firm that I was going to, and she didn't really ask me. I mean, I kind of knew, and she kind of told me, this is what you can kind of expect. I mean, with coming out of school, I think that I can keep you this busy, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I think, you know, at the time it was like, I think she told me that I can make like 40 to 45,000. You know, this was back in 1995. You know, so that was kind of a good salary. I mean, at the time it was like, yeah, 45,000, that's not bad, you know, whatever. But, you know, as you learn the system, you start learning how to crank out more pages, the sky's the limit. So, I mean, however much that you want to work or be busy, I mean, you can, you know, so the sky's the limit. I mean, you know, so it's up to you. I think that I can pretty much guarantee you this, but I mean, the faster that you catch on, you know, the more that you can make.
When asked about your capability as a reporter, be honest. Do not exaggerate your ability in saying that you can do 250 words a minute when you can only write 225. Yeah. Well, I think I'm writing at merit speed, which is 260, so I think I've got that. Really? You took the state test 4 times, so I'm saying you're probably not writing 260, you know? But, I mean, if you just got out of school, you're probably not writing 260 anyway. You may be at 240, you may be, you know, and a lot of times that's what they kind of told us in school, is that you probably should be writing about 240 before you go take the test. Maybe. But, I mean, you know, to compensate for nerves, I mean, you're going to be pretty close. You're not going to be writing exactly at 225, so. Be prepared for a test by bringing your machine and paper. I don't know about that. I've never been asked on any of the job interviews that I've had, bring your machine. You send me on a job today? I've never had anybody ask that. They know, once you pass the test, you have your qualifications, so they already kind of know, you know. The one where you may be asked, maybe like if you go work for Whitney, and it's a cart, and she wants to see, you know, kind of what your writing is like to see if you're available, but that's going to be down the line. That's not going to be the first day you get out of school, okay? So, but I guess they're saying be prepared if for some reason they ask you to. If you state that you can write in real time, be prepared to do so. Know how to hook up your steno machine to the computer and how to edit any untranslated and mistranslated words. That might be asked. You know, hey, do you know, I mean, you are real-time ready? Yeah. I mean, you guys are. You're not real-time certified, but you're real-time ready. Yeah, we did it in school. And you wouldn't be lying, you know, and you know how to set it up. Yes, ma'am, I do. You know, would you mind just kind of showing me, going through the steps and just kind of showing me, yeah. You may be asked. I doubt it. I've never even, you know, I think that they're going to know that if you got out of school, you're probably real-time ready, okay? Have a good answer ready when asked why you want to work for their firm or what you have to offer them. Knowing something about the agency, do some research. Employers are impressed by the fact that you took time and to find out something about their agency. Yeah. So a lot of times you're probably going to get a tip. Hey, look, you know, Sarah called and said, hey, you know what, you know, come work for the firm. I mean, we've got an opening or whatever. Okay. And I mean, just be honest with her. Well, why do you want to come work for my firm? Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Miss Hoffman. I heard through, you know, through Sarah Murphy that, you know, there was a job opening that, I mean, she really enjoys working here and has, you know, that you guys are very professional, have a lot of work, and, you know, that's something that interests me, and I really want to be part of this team. Short, to the point, precise, professional. Not, hey man, you know, she was down with what y'all were offering on that cash flow, and you know, hey man, I need C notes rolling in quick. No, you know, so it's all in how you present things, okay? And you know, just keep it short, keep it professional, okay? Relax, smile, and be yourself. Whatever the outcome of the interview is, be polite and professional. You know, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, and you know, just like with, you know, the judge that I didn't get hired by. You know, I was inside, I was upset, emotionally, you know, it was like, but I kept it professional. You know what? Thank you very much. And there was like, I don't know if it was true, but she had said that there was like right at 100 people that had applied for that job. And it came down to me and that girl to getting the job. So I kind of felt a little bit good about myself, you know, that I actually, you know, was able to at least get to the interview process and actually to the second interview. And, you know, at the second interview, you know, she said, well, you know what, I've made up my mind. And this was after the interview. And she's just like, you know, I think I'm going to go with this other person and blah, blah, blah. And this is kind of the reason why. Well, you know what? I appreciate it. I appreciate that you gave me the time, that you took the time out to give me an interview and whatever. And if, you know, if you don't mind, I mean, you know, maybe I can use you as a reference next time or whatever. Yeah, you know, absolutely. Or if the interview didn't go well, it's like, well, okay, well, thank you for your, you know, opportunity and, you know, that you took time to
give me the opportunity for an interview, and, you know, it just didn't work out.
Did you seriously ask that, if she would serve as a?
I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't. But, you know, I think sometimes when it goes well, you know, it's like, well, I mean, or if the guy, you know, like the judge was telling me, I mean, the girl just, it didn't seem like she would work for him. And he's just like, I didn't think that she would fit here with, you know, all the staff and whatever. So I just didn't think that she was a good fit. But I mean, you know, and he kept telling me, I mean, you know, it wasn't your qualifications. Your qualifications were great. You did great. You know, whatever. I just kind of lean in towards this other person, and I think that she'd make a better fit. Okay, well, thank you for your time and blah, blah, blah. But I may have misspoke by saying that. Maybe you don't want to do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's somebody that you really know, and it's like, you know, I mean, maybe I can use it as a reference sometime. Absolutely. Or they may tell you that, you know what, but if you apply for another job and you need a reference, you know, let me know. I know that my judge has done that before. You know, I think he did it with one of the girls, because he had like 4 or 5 girls that came and sat in or whatever. So, you know, and there were still some other positions that were open with some of the other courts. But, you know, if you want to use me as a reference, I mean, you're more than free to use me as a reference. So, any questions about finding employment? No? Perfect. I wasn't paying attention. All right, the office environment. Okay, the objectives. Discuss the makeup of a typical office for an official reporter or freelance reporter, including office furniture and space, color, light, and temperature. Discuss various health-related issues pertaining to the field of court reporting, including repetitive strain injuries, back problems, vision strain, and stress-related problems. Okay? Those who work in an official capacity will probably find themselves working in an office that is located close to the court in which they are assigned. In some cases, the reporter has a private office. In others, a number of cubicles or working areas may be arranged within a large area. The first job that I had was in the court that I was in, but it was with another judge. So when I got hired, well, the first day that I went, it was a pilot program for this court, because everything used to be heard at juvenile. So it was a pilot program to see if this court was even going to make. So when they went through the budget, they didn't put in for the court reporter the first year.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I didn't really know that. So going in, I mean, you know, the girl called me and said, hey, look, I need you there on January 2nd or whatever, 3rd. And you need to be ready to go on that Monday, and this is the courtroom or whatever, and you're going to be sitting in with Judge Sakai. Oh, I know Judge Sakai. I sat in with him before. Okay. So show up, and he's like, hey, man, you know, hey, what's going on? Oh, nothing, Judge. You know, what's happening here or whatever? Oh, I got hired for this new pilot program. We're going to see if it works, and this is the case that we're going to be hearing. Oh, okay. And, you know, I knew him well enough to where, you know, we just kind of talked or whatever, and I said, hey, who's your court reporter? Oh, we didn't put in the budget for one. Yeah. They had tried to make him do a tape recorder. They're like, you know, it's just CPS cases. You know, you're just terminating people's rights, no big deal. It's a big deal. You know, you're taking kids away, no big deal. Put it on a tape. He knew already from doing these cases at juvenile that's absolutely not. This is something that is going to require a record, and I want a court reporter there, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they had already accepted the budget, and the budget had already gone through before they put in for the court reporter. So, yeah. So, I mean, we're sitting in this room, and it's just kind of like this, and it was probably about this size, the whole thing, and then there was like a wall, maybe about 3/4 of the way through, or something like that, where this was like for the clerk and whatever, and then his chambers were over here where he had a separate office, and then I had just a table there with the clerk. So I'm sitting out there just with the clerk. That was my office.
was a desk right here, and then the clerk's right here. So his table was like that, and then my table was like this, and I'm staring at a wall. So, you know, when they say these cubby holes or cubicles or whatever, sometimes it happens. Now, since then, since they okayed the court, we got the court, I've always had my own office. You know, and even moving down to juvenile in the court that I'm in now, I have my own office. So most of the time you're going to have your own office or whatever. So, but I'm just telling you, there's situations where sometimes it comes up. The office must be arranged in a way that supports getting things done in the most productive possible way. The desk should be clutter-free. The computer, printer, monitor, and keyboard should be easily accessible. The chair should be comfortable. You know, guys, this is all, you know, it's not rocket science. So, you know, and it's kind of what you're used to. So if you're used to working with clutter on your desk, I mean, whatever. You know, I always had, it seemed like it was clutter, but I knew where everything was. I always knew where everything was. So like when the cleaning lady would come in, she would always put I said, look, they're in order by dates that I got to get these jobs out, so don't be messing with these papers. I was kind of close to her. Yeah, her name was Rosa. So we would kind of give each other a hard time. So I said, look, do me a favor, but you know, they're in the order that they are. If you want to, you can pick them up like this, blah, 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 blah. Put them in order, and then you just put them, and then clean the desk, and she would clean the desk or whatever. But most of the time, I didn't want anybody coming in my office and messing with my stuff, and that's just kind of the way that I am. Most court reporters are like that, real anal about their stuff. You know, it's like, don't mess with my stuff. You know, if it's here or whatever, don't mess with it. Just, it's there for a reason. So organization is big. So as long as you know where it is and you can organize, then, you know, a lot of this is just common sense, okay? Those who work for a freelance firm will find that their office situation may not always be the most desirable. In some instances, offices may be a space or a cubbyhole within a large room. Another reporter's office may consist of a desk, a chair, and a computer workstation. To a certain extent, the freelancer who works at home has an opportunity to choose what his or her office environment will be like. And like when we talked about like your taxes and stuff like that, so I have like one room in my house where it's just like an office, and I pretty much use it as an office. You know, so whatever work I need to do, I try to do it in there or whatever, so you can write off part of your electricity, you know, part of the stuff. Like if you have to replace the carpet in that room, you can write off some of that stuff. So your CPA will kind of tell you what you can and can't do when it comes to that. But you know, it's a lot easier when you work from home. You know, when you're a freelance court reporter, and you know, 95% of them do work from home. Might be even higher than that, 97. Just about all of them do. When I went to go work for Kathy Hoffman as a delivery guy, she wanted her reporters up there. So they had offices up there. They had an office, big old office space, really nice or whatever, but she had offices, and you know, each reporter had his or her own office, and you know, you could work up there, you could work from home. And a lot of times, you know, they just found it easier that, you know, well, if I go home, then my kids are going to want to do stuff, or my husband's going to, you know, whatever. I just don't work as well at home. I always find something else to do, whether it's washing clothes or dishes or, you know, whatever. And, you know, you always find a reason to not work. But when I'm at work, I know that I need to. So some people are geared like that. You know, they just don't work well at home. I always did. I found it easier to work at home. When I was at work, you know, there at the courthouse, people are always coming in, they want to talk, and, you know, it's like, man, you know, and you hate to be mean or whatever, but it's like, look, I've got a deadline on something, so I mean, I really need to, you know, get this done. So if I closed the door to my office and most people knew, you know, don't come in, or if they did, it's just like, hey, you know, blah, 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 is everything okay? And, you know, I was just passing by, I just want to say hi, okay, yeah, no, I've got to work on this thing, get it out. Okay. So, I mean, different things work differently for different folks, so whatever works better for you. No matter what the situation, official reporter, freelance agency reporter, or employed reporters. Certain factors should be considered in helping to develop the most productive working environment. When environmental factors are considered to produce a safe and secure workplace, it is called ergonomics. Okay. Ergonomics integrates the use of space, furniture, equipment, light, color, sound, temperature, and you know, all these things kind of take a factor. I mean, you don't want to be, you know, working in a place where the lights are low and you're just, you know, kind of always dozing off, you know, or whatever, or a chair that just, you know, you're having to slouch forward or you're way too far back, or, you know, and it's just the height of things, you know, can have advantages and disadvantages too. So that's what they're talking about in the office furniture. The office itself should be adequate to hold furniture necessary to get the job done. The court reporter needs to have a desk in which to work. Preferably a desk should be separate from the computer workstation. And the desk should have a large working space that is kept free of clutter. It has plenty of drawer space and is has sturdy construction. So, you know, you don't want to put it on something where, you know, when you lean over, you know, where the leg is one higher than the other or something crazy like that. So, you know, always take those factors into consideration. The computer workstation should have a tabletop that is adjustable in height from 22 to 32 inches. The monitor keyboard platform should be movable so that you can, it's an adjustable work environment. A sufficient lighting fixture should be, as well as a copy holder placed in the position to reduce eye strain. Chair should be comfortable. I mean, these are all, you know, besides the desk and workstation, a court reporter's office needs to have adequate file cabinets to store and retrieve documents, forms, and files. So, I mean, you know, you always need to be able to store stuff, you know, whether it's toner for your printer, printing paper, you know, just storage space, I mean, for your SD cards and files and stuff like that. So, any of a number of things. So, I mean, to have a file cabinet where your kids can't go in there and, you know, hey, you know, and they're messing around and, you know, throwing these things around. What's that? I don't know. It's these little cards. And it's your SD cards with 2 years worth of work on it or whatever, that's your backup stuff. And, you know, so, I mean, you don't want to make it accessible to other people. You know, always keep it in a safe place. So, shelving is a big consideration in any working environment. Without adequate shelves, objects are put into places where they will accumulate unnecessarily. Shelves should be securely attached to the walls, whatever. You know, I mean, guys, it's common sense. I mean, I'm not going to go completely through this stuff. It's kind of ridiculous or whatever. So some of the stuff is important. The office furniture, I think the desk is real important, you know, having it a certain height, whatever. But, you know, well, you should have 9 shelves instead of 8. Really? And it should be brown, you know, because most people like brown. You know, whatever. So office color, light, and temperature. This is kind of important because if you've ever walked into a room, you can feel the mood of the room just sometimes by the color of the room. Have you ever been able to do that? Awesome. Try that. You know how different colors affect your mood. And it's kind of true. Even the lighting kind of affects your mood sometimes. You know, and stuff like that. So it can be something as simple as that. You know, so temperature, very important too. I mean, and everybody's geared a little bit differently. I need it a little bit colder. You know, some people like it really warm. That puts me to sleep. So, I mean, you know, you have a really warm temperature with the lighting that's real low and, you know, a black paint on the wall. You know, God, that's a recipe for just putting me to sleep. You just almost sung a lullaby to me or whatever, because I'm probably going to be asleep in about 2 seconds. So, and scientists have proved that color of an office and workplace has a different effect on a person's productivity. So color affects our emotions, moods, and attitudes in the workplace. Although bright colors tend to overstimulate the mind, and soft colors tend to make a person sleepy and less productive, very often neutral shades offer a very relaxing environment. In addition, proper lighting is essential to doing very productive work. Natural sunlight is preferred, however, more often than not, artificial lighting must be used to illuminate an office. Overhead lights are adequate. Temperature, air quality, and ventilation all work together to make the office environment safe and productive. Proper heating and air conditioning are important for worker morale and health. So you don't want to be sitting there on a day where it's 24 degrees outside and the air conditioner is always on and you have no control over it or whatever, and you're trying to work and your fingers just don't work right, in environments like that. So I mean, it's kind of the same where, like heat kind of puts me to sleep. If it's way too hot, it makes me fall asleep. So you kind of have to try to find a happy medium there or whatever, and that's what they're explaining. Health issues for court reporters is, as in any job profession, several occupational risks are involved in court reporting. Over half of the disorders reported by OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, are estimated to be connected with ergonomic issues. For the court reporter, these risks include repetitive strain injuries, carpal tunnel syndrome, back-related problems, vision strain, and stress-related problems. I'd say yes on all of them, and if you don't, you have to find that happy medium. And I've been lucky for the 25 years or whatever that I've been working that I haven't had carpal tunnel problems. Stress is with any job. It doesn't really matter where you are. Back problems, I've had them, because you sit so long or whatever, and you just have to be able to find that happy medium. And I wasn't doing it, when I first started, when we would just sit there for hours on end. We're in, our court, they're coming in and out all the time. So you do a case and it lasts 20, 30 minutes or whatever, and then they're, calling the next case. Well, you know what, get up and, you just kind of stretch your legs a little bit. Stretch your legs, stretch your arms, and just kind of, with your back, moving your wrists. Something as simple as that will keep you from getting some of these problems, And a lot of it is due to either sitting down or always just having your hands up too high and you're writing like that. Well, it puts a strain on your hands. Well, if you have them too low, then, and it's putting a strain on your wrist. So you find that happy medium where it's right here, And some people, I don't even know how they did it, but one girl in school, she was down here and was writing, and it's like, are you on the floor? What are you doing? But that was the way that she found was easiest for her and felt better for her. I don't know whatever happened to her or whatever, if she ever got carpal tunnel. But
So how many court reporters do you know that have had carpal tunnel?
Not that many. Not as many as you would think. Probably a handful, literally. So maybe 5, 4 or 5. And this is out of all the reporters I've ever known, which is a bunch. A lot of them have back problems,
Okay.
Where it's whatever, but, I think if you try to stay fit, I've always worked out, so I think that kind of helps too, but it's finding that happy medium of, when you have just a second or whatever, just to stand up, stretch a little bit, and, stretch your hamstrings, because that, with me, was a big part of my back problems. So I went to a chiropractor or whatever when I was having back problems, and he was like, you have strong hamstrings. I don't even know what that means. Oh, well, your hamstrings are real tight. So when one's tighter than the other, it's, you're balanced here, and it just pushes it just enough. Well, it's connected to your pelvis, so your pelvis turns just a little bit, which causes your back to try to kind of tweak just a little bit, and it'll cause muscle spasms. Just something that easy. So he taught me some different ways of doing things that made it easier for me. And he told me, he said, in between hearings, Dave, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 seconds, put your leg up to where something is even, and just stretch your hamstring. And you can feel it, stretching. And it was something that simple that I think has kept me in this profession as long as it has. Because I dated a court reporter for a long time who had serious back problems. Back then I didn't really have back problems. I've always been fit, always played sports or whatever, so I didn't understand it, until I got into this position that I'm in. you know, because I've never had a sitting position. So like when her back would go out, I mean, tears. And you know, I'm sympathetic, but it's like, how bad could it really hurt? Holy cow. If you've never had back problems, holy cow, when it goes out. And I had it go out in Austin. I was already a working reporter, and we were at a softball tournament playing softball, and it went out then. They had to help me to my truck, and I'm by myself, so most of these guys are from Austin, other place, whatever. And I drove myself all the way home, and it took everything I had, literally crawling to the door, putting the key in there, getting in. It was the worst pain I had ever been through. I had never experienced anything like that before. So if you've never experienced it before, prepare yourself. Or try to avoid, yeah. Have y'all had back problems before? Holy cow.
A chiropractor who's helped me just like kind of be proactive with things, because it's very similar. Like it's just a little bit off.
And I mean, and it's crazy just the things that you can do. I mean, even as simple as brushing my teeth. You know, and you always brush your teeth, you know, like this, and you're bent over like that. He said, absolutely not, David. You spread your legs out, and it looks ridiculous, but I tell you what, I mean, if you've ever thrown out your back, you know. And after that, you're very aware of little things that could throw your back out, and I tell you what, you don't want that pain. You do not, and you can kind of feel it coming on. It's like, man, my back feels a little, and here I go, and I'm stretching all the time. All the time. So I mean, you know, it's just little things like that, you know. So repetitive strain injuries. Keyboards, court reporters, and pianists who repeatedly use their fingers, wrists, and forearms employ the same type of movement over and over again are sometimes susceptible to carpal tunnel syndrome. Carpal tunnel syndrome is a result of the compression of the median nerve that passes from the forearm through the wrist to the palm of the hand. So you always think that when I thought it was carpal tunnel, I thought that it was your wrist. It's not your wrist. I think it's this part right here. The carpal area is here. So it strains this area here. You know, so when they do this surgery, I mean, they usually have like an incision, you know, like in this forearm part right here. And it's the strain of the, yeah. So, carpal tunnel syndrome is also called median nerve entrapment and can develop in other parts of the body, including the neck and the shoulder areas. So I mean, and I didn't really know it until I started going to the chiropractor that I was having problems with my back, that other things were the result of nerves running through my back that were affecting other things. You know, like even, you know, kind of sharp pains every now and then, like here in my traps. To pains every now and then in my legs. And I mean, you have all of those nerves extend everywhere to the rest of your body, and I mean, something as simple as that can kind of, you know, do that. So, some symptoms that may point to the onset of carpal tunnel syndrome are pain in the burning of the wrist area, pain in the shoulders of the wrist while sleeping, loss of sense of touch, dropping objects that you would normally not drop, and tingling and numbness in the fingers. I don't know, I mean, I've never had it, so I don't know, you know, but a variety of treatments for the injury are used. Each depends on the severity of the injury. Treatments include lightweight splints, injections, exercise, and surgery. A new form of treatment called myofascial release therapy has proved very successful and does not involve the use of surgery or drugs. I have no idea. I mean, I know that at one of the seminars that we went to, we had a guy come speak about carpal tunnel. And this guy was excellent. He was really good. I mean, there was a lot of information and stuff. So, back-related problems. Court reporters and those who sit in the sedentary position for long periods of time often suffer from persistent back pain. These back problems are usually the result of poor posture when sitting or standing, or from sitting in chairs that do not offer proper support.
So, you know, if you're always leaning up, and I do, I mean, I have terrible posture. I mean, I just, and I can always, you know, because even if I'm sitting here, I can feel myself like that sometimes. You know, I always try to, you know, but I mean, I do. So you have to be very aware of that also. Court reporters should be keenly aware of their sitting and standing positions, making sure that they follow all good posture rules. Some of these rules include standing or sitting as straight as possible, not slouching, and using proper back support when sitting. And you should, not always, you know, I don't. So, vision strain. Court reporters use a sense of sound and sight to a great extent. Very often, physical problems are directly related to problems in seeing. A good eye exam by a qualified optometrist will usually detect any problems with vision. In addition, court reporters who work in front of a computer monitors are susceptible to eye strain that may lead to blurred vision and headaches. A good eye to monitor range is 18 to 22 inches. So I've been really lucky. You know, I'm 47 and I've never needed glasses, ever. You know, but it was my dad and I were the only ones. My sister, my brother, and my mom have all worn glasses or contacts their whole life. My dad and I were the only ones. My dad, you know, started using, he uses glasses to read. But I mean, when he's driving or whatever, he's good, you know, whatever. And I've always been, I mean, really lucky. I mean, I've always had 20/20 vision, you know, and I had some friends come into town, and they're a couple of years older than me. But they were all like, you know, we were reading, it was so funny because we were at my house and they were in town and we were reading this thing or whatever, and they're all like,
Yeah.
So you don't even need to do that
Use your
yet?
workstation.
I mean, I can see here, you know, so I mean, it's, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've been really lucky, you know, but this year was kind of the first year that I could tell a little bit. So like I was making fun, but not making fun of them. It was like, oh, you know, you're getting old, and everybody's using the same glasses to read this one paper, and there's like 5 or 6 of us sitting at this table or whatever, and they're like, you read it, you know, I'm reading it or whatever, blah blah blah. They go, okay, now use the glass, and you put the glass, and it's like crystal clear. And it was like, I didn't tell him that, but I mean, it was like, oh shoot. So I was asking him about it. I said, you know, how do you know? It's like, Dave, you wake up one morning and it just happens. You know, it's not like, it's a little blurry and it's a little, no, I mean, it's just like one morning, it's like, and all of a sudden you're like, and the office itself should be adequate. And it's like, you can't get it far enough for some people. It's like, well, here, I'll hold it, you can read it right here. It's like, so, I mean, it, you know, but stuff like that, overuse of the computer. I mean, so if you sit at the computer all the time, which as a court reporter you're probably going to, you know, it just puts a strain on your eyes too. So, be prepared. Stress-related problems. Court reporting can be a very stressful occupation for many reasons. In most instances, court reporters are constantly doing something, either writing or transcribing. They have deadlines to meet, and they have the constant pressure of maintaining their speed and accuracy. And that's true. I mean, you always have stuff going on, you know, so it doesn't matter, you know, some of it's job related, some of it's not. Some of it's, you know, family stuff, and some of it's financial, and some of it's blah, 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 and whatever. And, you know, so it's all this pressure. And if you don't find a way to release it, it's gonna come out. You know, and usually like in an illness, sickness, you know, anything. I mean, even, you know, my chiropractor was telling me that some of my back problems were part of, you know, probably stress too, stress related. So a lot of it's your diet, stress, environment, you know, where you sit all the time, don't exercise, don't do stuff or whatever. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is related to that, and stress is huge, huge, huge in a lot of things. So you have to be able to release. Sometimes physical problems such as carpal tunnel syndrome, back problems, and vision problems can lead to psychological problems that need to be dealt with by a professional. Because court reporters are under a great amount of pressure, they need to make sure that they take the time off and relax. And guys, I don't know, I think we talked about it maybe in my Eclipse class or whatever, but you know what? I worked hard, but I played even harder. You know, and I work to live. I didn't live to work. Does that make sense to you guys? This provides me the opportunity to do the things that I love. You know, and I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do down there. But it provides me the opportunity to do the things that I love to do, and that's where you find the happy medium. So even when I knew that I have 2,600 pages to get out in the next 2 to 3 weeks with deadlines shooting every other couple of days, you know, and buddies would call and say, hey, look, we're going fishing this weekend. Can you come? You doggone right I can, you know? And I would take my computer down there and, you know, whether it be down at the coast or whatever, it's like, you know what, I need, you know, just an hour or whatever. So, I mean, it's kind of funny. We go on vacation every year for my sister's birthday in June, and it's like 3 days, and we go down to Rockport and we stay in this, you know, really cool house and, you know, whatever. But I would always take my computer, and they're like, what in the world? Look, I have to do it. I can't go 3 days, and we would go down there Thursday night, be down there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday. You know, and it's fun, and you know, whatever, but it's like, you know what, I need an hour. So I would wake up early in the morning, you know, if we weren't fishing or we come back from fishing or whatever, and I'd, you know, take a shower and I'd work for an hour, and then it's like everybody's out by the pool, so go out there by the pool. So you find that happy medium to where you still stay within not going to jail, you know, because, you know, you're behind on your deadlines or whatever, but it's finding that happy medium still. And I think I told you guys about the court reporter that used to work crazy. I mean, she'd work crazy for like 3 or 4 months. I mean, just like, give me everything, and stay up till 3, 4 in the morning and be up at, you know, 7 or 8 in the morning, and she's ready to take another job and taking another job and cranking this stuff out, and then she's like, write me off the books for 3 weeks. I'm going to Hawaii for 3 weeks. So she worked so hard and just bankrolled all of this money, and then she's like, see y'all in 3 weeks. I'm going to Hawaii. So it's being able to find that happy medium to where you keep that sanity, you know, if you know what I'm talking about. And this job allows you to do that. You know, with the money that you're going to make, you find that happy medium to where you still live. You know, you don't live to work, you work to live, okay? So most successful court reporters take the time to engage in some activity that is totally divorced from their everyday occupation. In other words, they have a hobby that they enjoy doing in the evenings or weekends or whenever they get some spare time. Usually their hobbies involve physical activities, you know, like even something as simple as jogging, hiking, you know, whatever. But you still find that happy medium, because even like, you know, when I was 2,600 pages behind, you know, and I've worked at work all day, still worked on the computer for an hour, came here for the 2 hours or 2.5 hours, then would still go to the gym and work out. And it's like, well, why would you even do that? Well, to me, it was a release. You know, it allowed me to release some tension and just get out of the environment and not think about anything else but working out for an hour. So whether you go take the dog for a walk, or whether you sit there and watch your favorite show on TV for an hour, you know, just something that takes your mind off of work, and then it's like, all right, let's get back to work, you know? So you have to be able to find that happy medium. Beginning court reporters need to be warned against the dangers of substituting drugs and alcohol for the proper health, diet, sleep, and exercise. Any signs of abuse in this direction should be dealt with immediately by consulting professionals. And, you know, it's like any profession, you know, with stress or whatever. I mean, people turn to different things. I mean, and it's not the way to cope with it, you know. Going out, you know, and it's different if, you know, you have a girlfriend or a guy friend that calls and said, hey, you know what, let's go get a drink. Well, I'm 2,600 pages behind. You know what, I need to just kind of release or whatever. And you go and you have a drink, or with one, now I wouldn't drink a bottle of wine and then go back and you're on the computer, you know, whatever. But I mean, you know, just something that kind of takes your mind off of it, or whether you just go have dinner with your spouse, or whether you go with a friend or whatever. You know what, let's just get out of the house and we'll go have dinner, you know, somewhere and just relax for about an hour, and then come home, and you're gonna find that you're in a totally different frame of mind. Now you're ready to work, you know, and just being able to take that that time off or whatever for that time and be able to do that, okay? Upon reflection, most of the cases that a reporter deals with are bad news cases involving rape, murder, death, abuse, and so on. Eventually, this constant bombardment of negativism can lead to a negative attitude toward people as a whole. And guys, I never realized, kind of how stressed I was until I moved to this new court. And I've done this job for 22 years, of listening to kids get abused every day, 5 days a week, for 22 years. And it's like, you know what, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, so I'm cool. I'm a guy, we don't have as touchy-feely feelings. Well, it still takes a toll on you, so it doesn't matter. And if you think that you're that tough and it's like, I got this. And you know what, I did. And I think that I still did because I was able to find that happy medium of doing things that I like to do, golf, fishing, hunting, hanging out with friends or whatever. Still find that happy medium in between work was still good, but I didn't realize how stressed out I was until I left. And then it's like, holy cow. And it's like, you do what you have to do for a while, and then it's like, other opportunities open, and you go, and it's like, it just opens doors to other things. And, it's not worth dying over, not literally, but, it could be. But, you're slowly kind of killing yourself, trying to, make all this money, and it's not always about that. It's finding that happy medium and being able to release when you can, okay? So it can lead to other problems, so you have to be careful. Always consult a professional. Consulting a qualified person in any areas where problems may occur is important to court reporters. Court reporters need to be in tip-top shape, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Someone once said that a successful court reporter surrounds himself or herself with 5 good people. The first is a good friend or a confidant, who may be a spouse or a partner. The second is a member of the clergy, a pastor or a counselor. The third is a good financial advisor or an accountant. The fourth is a good general physician who can diagnose and refer you to specialists. And the fifth is a good lawyer. All right. Yeah. So, I think the first 4 are good, and you always want to, I don't know, I've always been that kind of person, that I surround myself with people that I feel are positive to me, and that don't bring me down, and I always try to stay as chipper as I can. Everybody has their days, their moods, whatever, but I always try to see the silver lining in things, and that's why I make as many jokes as I do, even as corny as they are. It makes me laugh, and to me, the best form of therapy is laughter, and I love to laugh at anything, whatever, it doesn't matter, and it's not making fun of someone as much as it is making laughter, so if I say certain things to you, like call you slick or, whatever, I just think it's funny, and I find little things like that, and it's not to hurt anyone's feelings. And I told you guys when I started, the class, if I say something that hurts your feelings, don't take it bad. It's just me kind of releasing my bad energy or whatever, just to laugh a little bit, and it's funny. So I just like to laugh. And that's the way that I release, and everybody does it differently or whatever. So I think, surrounding yourself with good people, even in school, it's kind of the same thing. And I've told you, misery loves company, and it couldn't be more true. So if you're always around somebody who's like, God, that test and the school and that work, it's stupid, and this whole thing is blah, blah, blah. Well, after a while, regardless of how upbeat you are, it kind of beats you up a little bit, and it's just like, relax. What's the big deal? You didn't pass the test. Find the one good thing that happened that day. You know what? I learned a new brief. Excellent brief. And like when they said it, I was on top of it all the time. Find the one thing in your day that helps you get